grindcore, death doom, emo violence, and no, I'm not shaving my head. All this and more on this week's Out Today and What I Missed.
We're not Whitesnake, dude. We're Poison.
I thought we were Quiet Riot.
It says here we're Rat.
First up, we have the band Horndal with Head Hammer Man. This third album from the Stockholm Swedish band is something that is on the very extreme of a lot of different things. It is very much in the sludge metal category, but you can hear a little bit of death metal in here, you can hear a little bit of post-rock going on, a little bit of atmospheric moments going on as well. Imagine a weird conglomeration of bands like Mastodon and Burst, also a little bit of I Hate God, which is quite surprising to me on here, but it really is a great sludge metal album that hits a lot of great peaks and valleys. This is my first run with the band, but I'm very much enjoying what I hear, and you just might as well give them a shot if it seems like it might be up your alley.
Copyright expired.
Next up, we have Ingested with The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams. I've been following this band pretty much since I started doing reviews and interviews all the ways back in 2011, and I heard this band for the first time really doing their blend of brutal death metal and slam, and it's amazing to see what they've done over the years, and this album is a great example of what they can do. Of course, it's got all that slam and brutal death metal that you imagine. Vocal gymnastics are throughout this entire album, but they also add a lot of peaks and valleys to this album that you may not necessarily expect. There's some great melodies and harmonies throughout all of the chaos that's going on here, which makes it a much more intriguing listen than just flat out brutal death metal and slam. Those aren't necessarily my favorite genres, but when they're done with something like this, it grabs my attention. And hey, it just might grab your attention as well, even if you're not a fan. Up next is Ischemic with Condemned to the Broken Wheel. This is a fascinating display of blackened doom metal, where they really hit the territories of that death, doom, almost gothic doom style, but they combine it with that fast-paced, ultra-speed black metal, which is really pulverizing and also feels like it kind of throws you back and forth, but it's quite the intriguing journey. I know this won't be for everybody, but if you like blackened doom, this is a very, very fine example of this. This is my first run with the band, and I am highly, highly impressed with what this Canadian band can do, and I need to go back and check out their previous albums to see how it holds up. But until then, there hasn't been a lot of black and doom albums in 2024, so you might want to give this one a shot.
Do anything about changing a tire? Want to help me change a tire? Could use a little help. No? Need a little assistance?
Next, we got Korpiklani with their brand new album, Rankarumpu. And it's so great to see this band back. Even though they just had an album out in 2021, it's great to see that fun folk metal side coming back in 2024, because this is a dark, bleak year, and we could really use some fun to try to get our minds off of everything that's going on. Of course, Korpiklani has never really done anything out of the ordinary with their sound. They've always been fun folk metal that just aspires everyone to drink, dance, and party. Olli Venska of Turisas makes his debut on this album, playing violin to the best of his abilities, and really adds that special something to Korpiklani as well. It's great to see that they're touring North America and around the world right now, and I can't wait to see what's next. Korpiklani is always a great time. So that's everything that I've covered for Out Today, but what did I miss?
What I miss?
First, we got The Absence with their self-titled album.
Commitments now combust. Our final communion now combust.
I've been a huge fan of these guys since the early 2010s, and it's great to see them continuing on the way that they have. Of course, there's been a lot of highs and lows, and they haven't always been putting out stuff, but whenever they do, it's always quality. And with the absence, you never exactly know what direction they're going to be going into, besides the fact it's going to be very melodic death metal. And that's what you get with the self-titled album. I will say this is probably one of the most raw albums the band has put out. The production is not pristine, it is raw and gritty, but it really matches the tone of the album, the tone of the lyrics, and of course the musicianship going on. If you're looking for that 90s, early 90s melodeath sound, the Absence pulled it off perfectly here with their self-titled album, and if you need that in 2024, I highly recommend this album.
Gotta convince my supervisor to give me a leave of absence.
Sure. What would you like? 4 years? 5 years?
Next up is the band Argyle with Spleen Angel. The third album of their trilogy from the side project of Misanthrope, the French progressive melodic death metal band, and this is some of the most abstract stuff the band has done to date, but it all does come together. It is very much in the death doom category, but they also go into more experimental and avant-garde places. They add things like thrash metal and brutal death in here. They also go into more atmospheric territory, clean vocals in very distinct places. It goes all over the map, but it fits the story, it fits the trilogy, and it fits the band so perfectly. If you want something a little more abstract in your death doom, I recommend checking out the first two albums as well too, and of course Spleen Angel. This is the final album, taking place over 22 years since this band incepted, and I think they nailed it for the ending.
Sacrilegious.
Next up, we go back to Sweden with the band Child with the album, I'm amazed I'm actually going to be swearing during this, Shitgeist. The sophomore album from this band really explores the territories of death metal and grindcore, but they also go into some very melodic moments that I did not expect. This is a brutal album, don't get me wrong, but there are some moments where they let up on that brutality and some things really shine through before the chaos ensues once again. This is a short album, 11 tracks, 24 minutes. Seems to be a running theme with some albums that I've been covering this year, but then again, it's all killer and no filler. If you're looking for something that really amps up that grindcore death metal and the odd melodic moments, check this one out.
This isn't very scary.
Next up, we have the band Suffer with Grand Canvas of the Aesthete. Another band that has come out in 2024 who started off in the late 80s, early 90s, really became more prolific in the 2020s. Look at Morbid Saints and many other bands that have done that over the last couple years. Suffer has come back since their debut album in 2015 here in 2024, and it's just that classic old school death metal sound that you want. It's Americanized just enough, but of course it does have that great HM2 pedal that is done by so much of that classic European death metal sound. It's that grand conglomeration of it all. No frills, no antics, just pure, unadulterated, old school death metal. And if that's what you want, Suffer brings that in strides. So give this one a shot if that's what you're looking for.
How do you make a bear suffer?
Tie it up and torture its young.
There's no mascot we can't torture.
Up next, we have Waitalati with their debut album, Celestial Shrine. This is a debut album featuring the singer of White Ward, doing some Ukrainian progressive folk death, black, so many different styles going on here, but it all makes sense when you listen to the music. When you first hear it, you might be a little thrown off because it does kind of go bonkers in a little places, but the more that you listen to it and the more that you really encapsulate yourself with the music, all of it starts to make so much sense, and you wonder how you went on without it. This is some fantastic stuff, and it's great to see Ukraine being able to continue to make some amazing music here in 2024. And considering this is just a debut album featuring some key members in the Ukrainian metal scene, I'm so curious about what's gonna come next.
If these trends continue, hey!
And finally today we have Wrist Meet Razor with Degeneration. This is another album that just goes absolutely bonkers in all the craziest ways. It hits power violence, it hits noise, it hits post-hardcore, it hits emo rock, and it hits everything in between. This album is an absolute bluster of an album, and you just never know what direction it's entirely going to be going into, but what a ride it really is. The lyrical concepts really hit home. The production on this album is fantastic considering everything that they have to accomplish on this album, and if this is what it sounds like on the record, I can only imagine what it sounds like when you hear it live. This album is absolutely insane, and if you're looking for something a bit more on the emo side of the extreme metal side, give this album a shot.
And if you're not down with that, Billy's got 2 words for ya!
And there you go, folks, another 10 albums down in this series of Out Today and What I Missed for April 5th. 2024. What'd you think? Was it too heavy? Not heavy enough? Where's the heavy stuff? Why isn't there more? And of course, all of that stuff you can leave in comments down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll return next week for some more albums for Out Today and What I Missed. But until then, this is the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel. This is Josh Ronquist saying, embrace the skillet.
Well, that's the end of me.